Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Hello there.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Well, been better, been worse. You know, the way it is, the way it goes in life sometimes. Wildershow.com is where you find us on the web. Podcast at wildershow.com is how you contact us. Podcasts drop Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share.
Is that really how you feel about life? Just kind of, most days are just sort of right in the middle? Not bad.
No, that's a really good question.
Not...
I think, I have something going on, allergy or something.
Yeah.
I think. And so that maybe I'm not,
maybe it's coloring your view of all of the days because you don't feel.
You probably would disagree with this. I think for the most part, I'm a positive person.
All
right.
No, I think you're right. I think that's right, Scott. I think you're a pretty positive person.
I think I am a pretty positive person.
When you said that, I really, it just kind of made me wonder. Is that how maybe a little? I wasn't going to say that though.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I just I sort of thought, to myself, is that how I would describe most days? Just pretty much in the middle.
No,
I like to think that that most days come out a little bit above the middle, maybe a lot above the middle.
Sure,
certainly,
I agree.
we can't all live in that space all the time. Some days you're just not going to feel great.
Well,
but I just thought I'd ask.
No, that's a good question. I do think though, and this sounds really like so broad as a thought, but if you have your health, you really have everything.
Well,
right?
What's the thing that you've said or you heard somebody say once? That is the thing that's true for me. I think about that all the time. If you're not healthy, all you want is your health. When you're healthy, you want 1,000 things.
You want 1,000 things.
Yeah.
When you're not healthy, you just want one thing. You just want to feel well again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, that's I feel a little. I'm a tad under the weather. That's all. That's all I should have said. I'm a tad under the weather. The very first week of the Trump presidency was eventful. We mentioned a little bit of this, the groans.
We knew it would be, right? I mean, it's not a surprise that it was eventful.
The jeers and some cheers and some
That's
jeers.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Both. But let's just do a couple little bullets on this. Pete Hegseth was confirmed late in the week, I think late Friday. Mm-hmm. And J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote.
Saw that.
Because 3 Republicans, including Mitch McConnell, voted against Pete Hegseth. Mitch McConnell could have done more damage to Pete Hegseth's effort to be confirmed by going out and lobbying other people. He didn't do that. So this was more about Mitch McConnell just didn't want to do it, but he didn't want him to lose. Mm-hmm. He just didn't want him to win with his vote.
Gotcha.
So I think Pete Hegseth, that was probably the most iffy. Mm-hmm. Except maybe Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Maybe.
Yeah. That
may be a little bit tricky, I think, for a lot of reasons. But and then Pete Hegseth just goes full bore and says, "Hey, you know what? Any federal employee who fails to comply with the anti-DEI policy will be fired. Trans troops have now been banned. Trans troops were always banned.
Okay.
Until Joe Biden unbanned them.
Okay.
And so this is not undoing a long-standing. No,
thing. Gotcha.
It's just going back to they would say sanity of what it's been before. Reinstating troops who refuse to get the COVID vaccine with full back pay.
I did see that. That's a lot. That's a big thing.
Huge.
Yeah.
And no more X on your passport.
What do you mean?
I mean, it is now the policy of the United States of America that there are 2 genders, male and female, and they are immutable. So this whole thing in passports where you could be male or you could be female or you could choose X.
I didn't know that was even an option on your passport.
It is. Well, it's not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay.
It's not anymore.
So what happens if you already have that on your passport?
That is a really good question. And the response to that question was, we will tell you more in the coming days.
Okay.
So, but it has now been changed. There is not the X on passports anymore. Let me say just, this is a little bit complicated, but when we were talking about President Trump giving aid to California, remember we had that conversation, aid to California, people say, well, it's going to be contingent. And then
in the wake of the fires.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, aid to California to clean up from the fires. And it'll be contingent on something. That's so unfair. And it should be contingent on nothing at all. And we said, no, it's good to bring people into compliance. And if you have to use a carrot or a stick, that's okay. And we talked about the whole thing with seatbelts. That seatbelts, the reason we have seatbelt laws in every state is not because it was federalized, because they were bribed, coerced.
Coerced is maybe a better word.
Coerced
right?
into compliance
by
saying you can't get highway funds if you don't have the seatbelt law.
Same thing with helmets.
In the helmet law, exactly. So all those things. So everybody's making it's not a big deal. And so that does play into this. We sent 2 planes full of illegals back to Colombia. I don't know if you saw this.
I didn't. Mm-mm.
And those planes were denied access to land and drop off the Colombian illegals that were in our country.
Based on?
Because they didn't want them back. They didn't want them there in the first place. This is what Trump has been saying a long time. Countries are shoving their ne'er-do-wells into the United States.
But they didn't even say it was for some. It was for some other reason. It was just like, no, don't send them back.
We don't want them back. Now, let me tell you what happened. Trump actually did this from the golf course. He talked about retaliatory tariffs on Colombia.
Yeah,
that would go into effect immediately, and if they didn't comply, and guess what?
Changed their mind.
They changed their mind. They complied. And that is exactly the kind of thing that we've talked about before. And so the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, said that he's going to block the 2 C-17 transports with 80 Colombian migrants, each heading toward the country from California. And the president said, okay, well, we'll take those tariffs from 25% up to 50%. And here a couple of things about that. Mm-hmm. We've always been told Donald Trump doesn't understand tariffs. The tariffs that are put on products from another country ultimately will trickle to the people that will be paying for those products in the United States.
Sure.
However, have you noticed when we use tariffs as a trade or as a carrot or a stick, they don't want those tariffs?
I have, but so why? Well,
that's what I'm saying. I think it's a false narrative that Donald Trump doesn't get. He understands exactly what tariffs are, but he also understands that tariffs are a way to get other countries to do what you want them to do.
They're compelling.
They are. Mm-hmm. And by the way, if it didn't impact those countries, it wouldn't be compelling.
Right.
So it's some combination of he really does get it, and maybe some of us don't get it about tariff. But yeah, it's true that if tariffs were 100% on everything from China, and if all that stuff was still made from China and all that stuff still came into every Walmart or wherever, and all the people bought it, then yeah, our prices would go up. But countries know they don't want to be on the other end of a tariff. And so Colombia, so much so, they said, we're not going to take those guys. We don't want those 80 people back. We don't want them back. And Trump is at the golf course and he says, okay, well, we're going to double your tariffs. I said, okay, send them in. and see, the thing is, you might think, well, send them in, and then they'll just shove them back through. But in theory, it's going to be harder to get people in the country again.
Back in our country.
Yeah, back in our country.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought it was a really good.
And will it be only because Donald Trump was elected? Harder to get them back in the country?
Oh, I think so. If you look at all the people that came in to the country, they came in, quote, legally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came in legally under Biden because Biden made it easier for people to come in legally. Mm-hmm. So we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, but part of Trump's whole first week was just signing. It was undo. That was the first thing, to undo all the stuff that had been done with Biden.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that was good. I did see that Trump has removed the security detail from several folks who had it for a long time. John Bolton, Anthony Fauci. You know, there was some talk that maybe somebody wanted to kill, maybe more than one, to kill Anthony Fauci.
Yeah.
There was some threats against him. But Trump said, well, you know, look, no one who gets security detail is going to get it forever. And it's really time for it to go away. These guys make a lot of money. He says these guys make a lot of money. They can afford their own security.
Hire their own if they want.
He said if they want to give me a call, I have some recommendations. And he wasn't being like...
I'm sure he knows people.
That's what I mean. It's like I got lots of people that I know that do this, and Anthony Fauci can be safe. He just might have to pay for it out of his $750,000 annual salary for the rest of his life, which is unbelievable.
It's not too bad.
Not bad not bad.
Do you pay much attention to sell-by dates on the food that you buy? Yeah. Either like, not. I mean, I have gotten into the habit of looking at them. You know, even when I'm in the grocery store shopping. But do you pay do you look at that like before you decide whether to keep something in your refrigerator or in the cabinet, or how much attention do you pay?
It's like that. It's like Geico or somebody expired. I don't
think I've seen that.
It's a woman like the ant. The ant has come in.
We have an ant problem.
All their ants are coming in.
Yes.
And she's going through and saying that the jam is expired, the ketchup is expired. My mom pays a lot of attention to that. I pay less attention to that. But I did over this last weekend. I saw something. I didn't purchase it, but I saw something and I thought, those look kind of good. And they were powdered, like stuffed donut holes.
Wait, you saw these in your house?
No, it's somewhere else.
Okay.
But I saw,
on a store shelf.
No. This was in a place where I could just eat them. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so I opened it up and I thought, I'll give it a shot. Although it said that it was out of date.
Okay.
And probably the fact that it was filled with fruit, I probably shouldn't have done what I did.
Wait a minute. They were donuts that were filled with fruit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like a raspberry-filled powder on the outside donut hole.
Oh, that sounds really good.
It was really, it looked really good. But then I picked it up and I took a bite of it. And then as and you'll appreciate this, then I noticed how soggy it was in my fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of sog.
I do know you don't like soggy things.
And so I thought, I'm not going to finish this, and I did not throw them away.
Okay.
But I don't look at dates. Sometimes I buy stuff and I use it so much I don't worry about it. If I take milk and I buy a little thing of milk and I know it's going to be gone, not worried about it.
Yeah.
Orange juice is going to do it. Grapefruit juice going to drink it all. So I don't pay as much attention as probably I should.
I don't know really if you need to be paying any more attention than you actually are, because the way what you described sounds like a really common sense approach. And growing up, my mom always used to say, if we would say this is out of date, my mom would say, the food doesn't know what the date is on the side. Yeah, it can't read that. What does it smell like? Does it look okay? Yeah. Does it give it the sniff test?
Yeah, sure.
I have kids, and one kid in particular retailer who would not be caught dead eating something that was out of date. You know,
Okay.
she will police. I guess I just gave away which kid it was. She'll police my refrigerator for things that are out of date. Right now, though, the date on the package has nothing to do with whether it's still safe to eat. In most cases, we'll go over one or two things where that is not the case. But the USDA's website actually even says that if the date passes on something that you have at home, if the date passes during home storage, the product should still be safe and wholesome if handled properly until the time spoilage is evident. It's up to the consumer to evaluate the product before eating it and determine whether it's gone bad. That sounds to me, first of all, it sounds like a lot of responsibility for us, but that sounds like exactly what you did. You know, you didn't look at the date maybe at first, but as soon as you put it in your mouth, you knew, yeah, I'm not going any further.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does it matter if it's something that you bought and then you have not yet opened it? In other words, let's say it's a red plum jam. I like red plum jam. If I bought an extra red plum jam, but I did not open it, I think once you open it, doesn't some clock somewhere, some grand clock in the air,
a freshness,
the food spoilage
sort of.
Air begins to tick?
Well, here's the thing, like spoilage. Part of this, that's true. That's true, I think. But spoiling even doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you sick. And I think that's what people are worried about. If you keep something past the date, it might be totally fine. Your milk might still taste great, taste fresh, be just fine. Other things I've noticed, sometimes it doesn't smell really great, and I'm not even to the date yet. Something might spoil. It might not taste as good. It might feel not as fresh. You might have opened a cracker package and taken a bite of a cracker that kind of tastes like cardboard or something like that. Even the nutrients might degrade in certain foods, but they're not going to hurt you or make you sick.
Okay.
So this can cause a big problem. Like if you're one of the people, like the 84% of people have said that of consumers have said that they throw away food when it passes that date,
Really?
Whether they've given it the sniff test or not. So this can cause a really big problem with food waste. 30 to 40% of all food in the U.S. gets thrown away. 30% of all food.
Really?
That's like 20 pounds per person per month.
Wow.
So, doesn't it kind of stand to reason that our grocery bills could maybe come down a little bit if we were able to hang on to some of that food and not feel like we had to throw things away as soon as they hit that date? So in California, at least, those dates and the way food is labeled is about to change. This is going to start in July of 2026. There will be only two types of date labels allowed on food. One is going to say best if used or frozen by. That will indicate like it's peak quality or freshness, or use by, which will indicate safety. Like what I mentioned, in one or two cases, infant formula is something that you don't want to use past the date.
Okay.
When it's if the date on is definitely take that seriously, get rid of it, take it back to the store if it is out of date. Now, all of those dates that I just mentioned, the best by or the use by, those are all going to be determined by the manufacturers. Like I said, only in California for now, but coming soon to a grocery store shelf near you, probably if it works, if it cuts down on waste, and people take it seriously.
Is that extending the time, or the date's going to be different? I guess I just don't know. You said there won't be two dates. Right now, are there more than two dates or 3 dates?
No, it's two different labels.
Oh, got
It'll
it.
say, it won't be that every product has two separate dates on it. It'll say either best if used or frozen by,
it.
or use by. And that will indicate whether it's safe for you to continue to use beyond the date.
I do for meat. I do look at, of course, you can, after a while doing it, you can know by looking at meat.
By looking at it, or certainly by smelling it.
Yeah, but no, I mean, if you're in the grocery store to buy it even.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell by looking at it if it's right or not. If they've tried to repackage it, you can generally tell. So yeah, that's interesting. Now, I don't pay much attention to this kind of thing, but it just strikes me that all these things like listeria and different things like that, is that impacted by this?
Not at all, because those are contaminations. E. coli, listeria, contaminations, things like that we hear about, and recalls. That has nothing to do with how fresh a food is or that date that you would see on a package. Not at all.
Well, Scattershoot is coming up. Wilder Show, Scattershoot. This is where we just, scattershoot.
I don't even really know what that means.
I don't either. We used it for so long.
Didn't Larry King use it too?
I don't know.
Is that where that came from?
I don't even know where it came from. I mean, maybe I think it was in somebody's column. Was it
Larry? I think it was Larry. I could be wrong about this, but Larry King 100 years ago had a column in USA Today in the purple section. And I thought that it was.
I'll look it up for the next time. We'll know it.
It might have just been like the last part.
It was like scattershoot, and boom, boom. A lot of ellipses.
Yeah, and then usually just a whole lot of non sequitur
random thoughts.
Things, that he didn't have room for in the
sort of like we're doing.
Sort of like that.
Yeah.
Didn't he used to see? That's kind of an interesting segue too, because didn't he used to have sort of colorful ways to say certain things to like figure? No, that's not. I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of. Was it Dan Rather?
Did you ever wonder? No, you're probably thinking
that's Andy Rooney.
Andy Rooney,
right? But doesn't Dan Rather?
He always said
a bunch of Southern things,
Southern
right?
things. Yeah, way too many.
For people to ask him, where did that come from?
Oh,
because I was just reading something over the weekend that was the history on some very American. Well, you'd think they were very American figures of speech or funny sayings, but a lot of them actually have. They originated in different countries, different cultures. One of them is, and all of these were familiar to me, but I had no idea where they came from. Like spill the beans. Do you ever use the phrase or the expression "spill the beans"?
That's going to be a fun little quiz. I think some of these, one of these I might even know.
I'm sure you know what it means.
Well, I know spill the beans, but I don't know what the origin of it, though.
Okay, so spill the beans means like to divulge a secret.
Right.
That was originated in ancient Greece, and here's why. Because beans were used to vote on issues in some Greek city-states. A black bean could be disapproval, a white bean might indicate approval. And if somebody spilled the beans accidentally or intentionally, they could prematurely reveal the outcome of a vote.
There you go. Yeah. That's good. Spill the beans.
Yep. So that's why that's where that came from.
Right.
Okay. Here's one that you'll like. I think close but no cigar.
I think I know the origin of this.
What is it?
It's the old carnival days.
It is.
Can I tell it? Then you correct me if I'm wrong.
Tell me more.
Okay. The old carnival days, you would have a thing where you would take the big mallet and you would slam it down on a little teeter-totter, and it would send a brass nugget up to the bell
to ring the bell
at the top to ring the bell.
Yeah.
And so then you would get a cigar if you would ring the bell. And so if you hit it really hard and it went all the way up, but not all the way up, the guy would say close but no cigar.
That's exactly right.
Hey.
Sounds like these carnivals were really fun for kids. The prizes were cigars.
Cigars and live lizards. You could
That's
pin
terrible.
to your shirt.
I still don't believe that.
Oh,
you tell that story every year when the State Fair of Texas opens,
I'm tell right
and
now,
I can't even imagine.
All right, hold on. Somebody's going to send. Listen, everybody, lean in. I want you to send me an email. Send Lauren an email to podcast@wildershow.com. If you grew up going to the State Fair, and if you remember at the State Fair, you could get a lizard, a little chameleon, and it had a little thread around its neck.
Oh, my goodness.
And then it had a pin. And when you bought it, they would pin it to your shoulder. And the whole day, the lizard would be kind of moving back and forth on your shoulder all day long. That is absolutely the truth.
You can send Scott an email if you're now going to have nightmares because you just heard us talk about that.
No, it's true though. So, but just back me up on this. Other State Fair humans, and let Lauren know that was the case.
That it's a real thing.
Real thing.
Okay.
So podcast at wildershow.com.
I'm waiting for it.
All right.
Bite the bullet. Bite the bullet. You know what it means. I'm sure, right?
Bite the bullet. Didn't it really have to do with before you're about to be in pain? They would give you a bullet to bite down on.
Literally biting a bullet.
Literally, you'd bite a bullet.
Mm-hmm.
But it was about pain, the anticipation of pain.
No, prior to the widespread availability of anesthetics,
correct.
Soldiers, mostly undergoing surgery, might be given a bullet to bite in order to help them manage the agony. It kind of, like the times when we say bite the bullet now, sort of makes it seem like we're kind of weak. Doesn't it? We bite the bullet for far less serious things than that.
I have news for you. We are weak.
We are weak.
Go ahead.
Got it. How about let the cat out of the bag? I'm sure you know what this means, but I bet you don't know
the origin,
where it came from. Yeah.
Let the cat out of the bag.
To reveal a secret.
Yeah.
Right.
Let the cat out of the bag. Cat out of the bag. I don't know.
It originated in medieval markets. Dishonest merchants might substitute a less valuable cat for a piglet, tying it in a sack for unsuspecting buyers. So if the buyer opened the bag and discovered the ruse, they literally let the cat out of the bag. So it's a cautionary tale about dishonesty and premature revelations.
Right.
How about this one? This is the last one I have. Break the ice. Break the ice. You know why we use it. You know how we use it, right? Break the ice just to start get a conversation started. Overcome some maybe initial awkwardness.
Is it about breaking ice for a drink?
No, it's a nautical term. It referred to ships breaking through ice-covered waters to forge a path for others. Okay. Again, something that was like a pretty serious thing, right? Requiring much labor. Now we use, just to talk about, how to get the conversation started at the bar with the girl. Right? Break the ice. Yeah, that's all I got.
Now, tell me, saying, go ahead.
Except kick the bucket, which I can't tell on this show because it really might have bad dreams.
Okay, all right. Each of us sayings. We've had a lot of people that have sent notes about Wilderisms.
Oh yeah.
And is there a Wilderism that comes to your mind? Is there? You want to think about it for a second?
I know the first one.
Go ahead.
Listening is more than waiting for your turn to talk.
There you go. Listening is more than waiting for your turn to talk. That is one of the Wilderisms. Mm-hmm. Can I run down a couple other ones?
Sure.
The leak in the roof gets fixed
when it's over the boss's
desk. When
it
drips on the boss's desk. Yeah. You have to chop wood before you get heat. Mm-hmm. Be a no excuses person in a not my fault world. Better to have it and not need it
than to need it and not have it. Is that a Wilderism?
Well, my dad used to say it all the time, but I don't know. I didn't make it up.
Okay.
But he didn't either. Disappointment is measured as the gap between expectation and delivery.
See, I can finish them, almost all of them.
Just because you're in front doesn't mean you're leading. If it's a mic, it's on. If it's a camera, it's rolling. If it's a gun, it's loaded. Yep. If it's a bear, it's hungry.
Yep.
Now, this is actually it is actually the ultimate Wilderism, because this is the Wilder family motto from like 1400 and something.
I don't think I even knew you had a Wilder family motto.
The strongest wall yields to persistence.
Well, that does not surprise me that is your family
motto. Isn't that funny? Because
isn't
that funny that it does sort of, maybe I reflect that, or it reflects me. The strongest,
one way or the other.
The strongest wall yields to persistence. People who want to find ways to get things done, find ways to get things done. People who don't find reasons why they can't. When the horse is dead, dismount. You fall the way you lean. I reserve the right to be wrong.
Wait,
a ride I exercise as infrequently as possible.
I knew there was
So
more
there
to
was
that. I knew there
Almost
was more.
never, actually. Christopher Walken has never owned a cell phone.
Really?
That's something?
Yeah.
Kind of a random thing. I read a really interesting interview with him. He says, I don't do technology. He all his lines that he has to memorize, he does early in the day. And he doesn't eat breakfast, ever.
Why?
Eating makes him tired. And so he does all his stuff. And though he has some juice and some maybe coffee. And but he doesn't eat until later in the day because it kind of goes downhill.
Okay.
I think. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Super Bowl is set, of course. Not really a big surprise. The Chiefs and the Eagles. The Cowboys have a new head coach.
They do.
Yeah, it's. I am surprised Jerry didn't wait until the actual Super Bowl week.
You mean to get that extra attention?
Yeah, because
we
you
were
get the
kinda
attention.
anticipating?
But honestly, I'm not sure it's attention he would want. Like Schottenheimer's a good guy, I'm sure.
I don't know anything about it.
This is more Jerry. I mean, he was our current OC.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more Jerry. It's a guy that Jerry can control. So I don't know. Whatever that means, it's going to be tough for it to. It does not portend good things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't portend good things. It does not inspire confidence in me.
Yeah.
That change is afoot.
Gotcha.
Don't forget to send Lauren an email at podcast@wildershow.com. Tell her the lizard thing is real, is for real. podcast@wildershow.com. Website is wildershow.com. Podcasts drop Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere else, including YouTube. So wherever you get your podcasts, like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share, and we will see you next time.
Da-da.